Hello and welcome to the Happy Healthy Human podcast. I'm Coach Kara.
And I'm Coach Lauren. On this podcast, we talk about the 5 factors of health, which are movement, nutrition, connection, rest, mindset, recovery.
She did it without looking at the phone this time. No, that was
time. 6 because rest and recovery go together, and then mindset goes before that, but it was close.
Oh my gosh.
I'm getting better.
Yeah, maybe on the next one.
I know. It's just, yeah, we'll go. So anyways, Coach Kara, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about overcoming injuries and setbacks. So basically what it looks like to get injured and keep a positive and happy, healthy mindset throughout the whole process of it.
Yeah. I mean, for anybody who's going to be showing up and doing a sport, at some point, there's going to be some type of setback or injury of some sort. The goal would be that we're completely injury-free all the time, but usually there has been something. I know we both in our own stories have had some type of injury or setbacks when it comes to us improving and excelling. So I don't know if you want to go first of some things that have happened, and then we can talk about ways to get through injury or what to do, because some people are just like, oh, I just stop altogether then if I have an injury and we'll never see them at the gym, which would be really sad. You don't have to do that all the time.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like the instant headspace that most people go to is like when they get injured, whether you are someone that likes to run for fun, or if you like to do CrossFit for your exercise, if you like to go to, I don't know, like a boutique fitness workout, like as soon as you feel something not feel right, I think the gut reaction is like, well, I'm not going to be able to work out now, so I'm just going to have to take rest. But I think that is somewhat of a misconception depending on the injury. And so I think back to, oh my gosh, what year was it? I think it was 2022. I hurt my back because I was overtraining, and it caused me, I was overtraining and under recovering. Yeah. Under recovering.
That's correct.
That's the right way.
That's correct.
Which we'll kind of get into what that means and why that can lead to injury. But that back injury has honestly been with me all up until now, basically. Like it flares up here and there. I've gone to a lot of physical therapists to try to work through it, but it still comes back. And so it's one of those things where I had to really change my mindset, because at the beginning I was just like, well, I'm done. I'm never doing CrossFit again. I'm injured. I'm not going to come to class.
Well, especially something with your back, that's scary a little bit. You're like, I got to take care of my back.
Yeah. Well, and I think what made it worse was at the time I was working in retail, and I heard it on a Saturday morning, and I had to go to work that night, and I could not bend over because it was hurting so bad.
That is hard.
Yeah. And so I had like an 8-hour shift on my feet, different steps and squats and, hinging was bothering my back so bad. And so it put me down a literal spiral of my back will never feel normal again. Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt that before? Like when you've hurt something and you just start literally spiraling?
Well, then I'm like, I'm going to lose. I mean, I had this last week with my wrist, and I literally was like, what if I can't coach? What if I can't demo? It just like freaked me out because we use so much of our body for the work that we do.
Yeah. I think that's when it really hits you too, when it starts to affect your like real life. If someone is a parent and they hurt their back, they're like, how am I going to pick up my kids? How am I going to change a diaper? Things like that.
Exactly.
But I think the best thing to do is as soon as you injure yourself is just like assess. Okay, what do I need right now to make it feel better short term, and then come up with a long-term plan?
Yes.
Now that's not always going to be perfect because you do sometimes start to spiral, but I think that you just need to breathe and be like, okay, what do I need to do to help right now? And then I think also is thinking through, okay, what may have caused this, right? And I think that was the main problem with my injury, was that the problem was I was not recovering well. I was sleeping, I think at the time, probably around like 6 to 7 hours a night, but I would train for like, I don't know, 2 hours straight.
You were just loving your life.
Yeah, just doing literally everything. So I would take class for an hour, and then I would do my own like accessory work that my coach programmed for me. And then I would do someone else's accessory work every day. And then sometimes people would be like, hey, do you want to do this random workout I found on Instagram?
Fun.
And I was like, yeah, why not? And so it's like, well, what do you expect to happen? You're doing a bunch of random programming that doesn't, fit well with each other. And so obviously injury was kind of looming over me. And then you also have to take into like, how's my water? How's my food? Am I eating enough for the amount I'm training? And basically it just wasn't all working with each other. And so injury was seriously just like, it was bound to happen at some point. So I think short term, I was just like, okay, rest is obviously going to be the most important thing, but also find the right people to help me still be able to move. Because I think that movement really is medicine when you injure yourself.
I would say so. Like you have to find ways to cross train. Even with our members, you know, some people have something maybe going off their shoulder or their back, whatever. We will always say, come to our class. We'll find different movements that doesn't affect that piece of your body, or, you know, modify in a way where they can still move, but maybe not put as much weight on it or pressure, because we're going to keep people moving and working out. And there's so many other parts of your body typically that you can move, even if one area needs to be isolated and not used for a while.
Yeah. Well, I saw something the other day from a physical therapist that they had posted on social media about how rice. Are you familiar with rice? Which is like,
yeah, go for it again. Though.
Rest, ice, compression, and elevate.
There we go.
Right. So that's like a pretty old school way of taking care of any sort of injury, right? Like if you hurt your ankle, for example, typically what you're going to hear is rice. Like just stop doing everything, put some ice on it, put some compression, and elevate it. But what this person wrote, and I wish I remembered the new acronym they had. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but maybe I can find it one day. They came up with a new acronym of like, this is actually what's been proven to help more. And movement was one of the things on there.
I would say that's 100% true for at least any of my injuries has been moving through it, but just not like completely pounding on that one area.
Right. It's like knowing how to do movement. And I'm talking like maybe some light stretching or some very light weightlifting. You're not going to hurt your back and then try to max out your deadlift the next day, right? But getting light movement can make such a difference in just speeding up the recovery process, which is just not what we used to.
And creating blood flow, right? Like we want to be able to have movement, where I think some people just keep everything stagnant when really you do want to at least have like some type of blood flow. We are not doctors. We're not physical therapists. Of course, go to a doctor, go to a physical therapist if you have some type of injury that is prolonged. Like you went to a physical therapist. I don't know. Did you go to a doctor at all for your back situation?
I never went to see a doctor because I would see my PT and what they were telling me was wrong with it. Like it wasn't, I didn't need like an MRI or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think that's what most people go to is like, let me see my primary care doctor first and kind of get referrals and that kind of thing. But it's like,
usually they're like, and go to your physical therapist.
Exactly. Do what you feel is right. But
take some ibuprofen.
This is just our experience.
Yes, exactly.
But I think one thing I'd want to hear about from you too is like, I think that your mindset plays a huge role around it too. Have you had any injuries where you've really had to work on like just overcoming?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love running, and I started 3 years ago. I was, doing both running and CrossFit, and I was doing trail runs, and I kept having this lingering Achilles issue on my right ankle that I just do. If I do some of the races I wanted to do, I could like seriously injure myself. Like I was feeling like every day waking up stiff and painful. So I talked to a physical therapist, got some different movements to be able to help that. But I realized like, okay, I need to protect this area of my ankle. So I need to go lighter on running some days, or I can't be doing double unders all the time because that's putting a lot of pressure on it, or box jumps. So I would listen to my body and kind of have to let my pride down during different, workouts that we had at CrossFit, because I was just like, I've got to be able to protect this part of my body until it can get healed up. I found a lot of healing came through my nutrition. I just was really lacking protein. And so when I increased my protein, a lot of the ailments went away. That was for me though, specifically. Every person's different, but I realized like, okay, I'm going to keep moving. It's just, I'm going to have to like protect this area of my body. Another injury that I've had a couple times that hasn't lasted too long is a lower back type of injury that would come usually from hinging movements, like kettlebell swings or devil's press. I remember once at devil's press and I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like my back gave out. And usually it's because I didn't warm up properly. And then I went too heavy immediately. And so my body just couldn't handle it. So I think the more like once those things happen, learning like, okay, if I'm going to do kettlebell swings today that are heavier, I have to warm up like 2 to 3 times more than everyone else around me. Yeah. Because I know my body. And so I think having this mindset of like, talk to the coach, or if you are in a gym in your own, like make sure you do the proper things to prevent that injury as much as possible, or like mobility, all of that, or do the physical. I have a good friend struggling with a hamstring issue with running. She's like, hey, Lauren, I'm going to need 15 to 20 minutes before our run to work on, this hamstring, stretching it out before we run. So I think there's just ways that you can be preventative or proactive once you know what's going on with your body. But I think for me, I'm like, any way to keep moving is kind of my mindset when I have injuries happening. Like, I'm not just stopping altogether. I might do like a rest day, but then I'll move in a way that's not going to be maybe focused. For instance, like when my back was hurt, I would still like bike, or I would still move around and go on walks, or maybe do something that just wasn't like a hinging type movement for a couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like what you said about just giving yourself time. Like sometimes you do have to swallow your pride and just be like, okay, I am the type of person that now has to come to the gym 5 minutes early just to make sure that everything is like activated so that I don't hurt my back today, or so that I don't feel this or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I think just having the right tools in your tool belt is going to be the best thing that you can do. And that's either, experiencing an injury and getting that through a professional, or talking to a coach being like, this is kind of bothering me. I don't want it to get worse. Can you help me figure out what to do before class to make sure that it doesn't, get any worse than what it is now. So,
yeah. And I think another area of mindset I would challenge people who are like listening to us is, I've had people say, well, I've had family members be like, so what are you going to do when you can't run anymore? Because you probably won't be able to run soon. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
what do they even mean by that?
Like, because their knees have given out, so your knees are going to give out. See. Type of thing. Like, people are like, well, I can't do run anymore at your age, so you probably won't be able to. First of all, I'm like, I don't receive that. This is my body. This
no
is
negative energy.
Journey. No negative energy. But also, I'm like, if I ever come to that time, then I'm going to find some other way of fitness. Maybe it's swimming. Maybe it's lifting. Like, there's so many other crossroads of ways that we can work out and still be fit. It's just like, I'm like, okay, well, when I get to that road, I'll do this, but it's just funny. I think people think, oh, if I can't do this certain type of lift, then I'm out altogether. And I'm like, no, there's so many other ways to exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even someone that is older like that thinks that they can't do it. Like, if they did really dedicate time to healing themselves, like you would be able to run again.
We have people of all ages at our gym lifting, moving. And it's like, if you don't have a knee, well, then do sit-ups and pull-ups. I don't know. I'm just being ridiculous. So
yeah, it's true. Well, I think that just trying your best to stay positive and action oriented when you get injured is the best thing you can do. And it's a lot easier said than done. But I think just making sure that you have a plan of staying healthy and really check in on like your 5 factors of health that we talk about at the beginning of every podcast can be a really good way to check the boxes of like, great, I know that I did everything I could have done to prevent injury. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Totally. And I would say like cheers to our members who show up or like, okay, I can't maybe do this pull up for today because of my shoulder, but they're doing everything else. And I'm just like, I think that is, you're going to heal faster through a process of like showing up, working out, moving, even if you have to isolate one of the areas of your body to protect it, as it's healing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I love it.
There we go.
If you are someone that is experiencing an injury or maybe you have fear around injury, we have an awesome team called Reason Physio that you can talk to. This is not sponsored by Reason Physio. I just decided to be nice and call them out.
Shout them out.
Josh and Dr. Beth. Or your coaches are here for you. So shoot us a message, comment on our reels if you have any questions. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Human podcast. Stay happy, stay healthy.
Bye.